meeting of Highway and Buildings come to order. We'll have the roll call, please.
Mr. Washington?
Present.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Present.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Tholen? Ms. Polk? Mr. Snipes? Ms. Peters?
Present.
Mr. Zenz? Ms. Haas? Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Mr. Featherling?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Dennell?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler?
Present.
Mr. Seroy?
Present.
We have a quorum.
I see we don't have any public comments. First, we need the, do we need to do the approval of the minutes first before we do your, we'll have approval of the minutes. Mrs. Peters, Mr. Eckhoff, Featherling, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, same sign. Now we'll have the approval of the minutes. We just did that, right? All right. We'll have motion to amend the agenda to bring have Bones and
Motion to amend the agenda as long as we're gonna cover the purchase of equipment and building repairs.
yeah,
Move that forward.
right. We'll move that forward to now.
All right. Kelly, if you could turn that over.
I second it.
Second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same signs. Ayes have it.
All right. This morning, I just wanted to get the committee's nod to purchase of a piece of equipment for the highway department. It's a 2007 MTV Stewart and Stevenson 6x6 wrecker truck. It's an Army surplus wrecker and tow truck that would accommodate towing our large equipment. It's about 30 feet long and about 8 feet wide. It's got about 3,500 miles on it. They are asking $40,000 for it. The new price, a new price to get one of these is about $268,992. This one has the 3,500 miles. It had an Army inspection and rebuild in 2014. It does not require any special licenses other than a CDL to operate, and it is available from Midwest Military Equipment, who handles Army surplus. It'll be available 24/7 to us. Previously, our drivers have been stranded in the severe cold and storms for hours waiting for a tow truck. At times, we've had to wait until the next day because it's too cold or the roads are too bad to get a tow truck out there. We previously spent $800 for tows and $500 for winch outs. We had 8 towing events last winter alone. We would also use it for our mowing tractors to pull them out of the ditch when they get into some wet spots, and also we would use it to remove fallen trees from roadways that, because it's equipped with a boom and a winch. Owning our own truck will enable us to rescue our equipment and get our personnel back and not incur expensive recovery fees, and we'll have a more efficient means of removing large debris from roadways.
Any comments? Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How have they certified the condition of this truck? Has it been gone through? I mean, 2007, that's 12 years, so we got belts, hoses, tires. Are they shot in good condition? Where are we at?
I invited Bob Luna here, our fleet services manager. He's been in contact with them about it, and Bob's in the back here. He can answer that question for you.
The Army regularly does, even when they don't use them, does a full inspection. They went through this in 2014, and then it went in their surface as they move it through their chain of thing, and then it was let go for civilian sale. But it's been going completely through. It's turnkey, ready to go. Some of the hoses the outside were like cracked just from sitting. It's got no time on it, so all of them have been changed. They don't really cut corners on anything. the military doesn't.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Parts availability, do we gotta go back through OEM stuff and available, I mean, is it, I'm sure it's not off the shelf stock stuff for all of this, it's,
A lot of it is, cause it's a heavy duty truck chassis, so all the brake chamber, all the replacement stuff is available in town.
it is, okay.
And then the specialty, if we need something from Stuart Warner or Stuart Stevenson, that place stocks the whole thing, so it'd be just like us ordering parts anytime else.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rogers, does that have, what are we gonna have to do? Like yellow lighting and, safety stuff for it, is that gonna be a lot of money to add to it? Cause you can't just tow without flashing lights in Illinois, right?
No, it's got some on it, and then we'll do to it like we do all the equipment we get, we'll put our beacons on it, our strobe bars.
Are those something that you have, or you gotta purchase that?
We have some, and then some we get.
Is it considerable? I mean, I don't know what it costs to,
The bigger strobe bars run $300-400.
okay, it's not thousands of
No,
dollars.
it's not
And
thousands.
you
It used
did-
to be, but now the LED, the prices come way down. They used to be $1,500, you know, for light bars, but once the LEDs come out, the price just dropped.
Yeah, considerably. And you said it had 3,500 miles is all it has on it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Is it-
Kinzinger.
10.
It's on.
With the amount of dollars that were spent for towing last year, from a standpoint of money, it doesn't seem like it's a good investment for the county. How do you see the emergency aspect in Accentra? Is that where the value is in this truck?
That's where the value is for us because, like I said, we have to, in the winter, we have, of course, we get stuck. They're towing out other cars. They can't get to us for hours sometimes, even to the next day. That's why we were looking around for something like this. This one came available. It seemed like a good deal. Like I said, you know, you get like 8 of them last year. I mean, that's $4,000 right there. That's just in winter tows. That's not in, you know, pulling tractors out and things like that.
Keep in mind, this could be a life-threatening situation if someone gets stuck and no one can get to them in time. They could be stranded there for a sustained period of time, and that's not good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, it's within your budget.
Yes.
As someone who owns their own tow truck also, I think this is a great deal. And if this committee does not purchase that truck, I'm gonna purchase that truck.
May not be
The price just went up.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mark, is there any provision, you know, I'm thinking the sheriff's department has lots of needs occasionally in the winter for tows. Do you do any reciprocity to help them out?
We help out the sheriff's department in emergencies.
Okay, so you're gonna have a tow operator available to go do this stuff?
I can't promise that 24/7,
I'm
but
sure the sheriff would be interested in that.
Okay.
Last question.
Mr.
For
Chairman.
me. MFT,
no,
county highway,
highway funds. Yeah.
highway funds, okay.
Mhm.
I make a motion, we purchase.
Motion and seconded that we purchase a piece of equipment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hess, Ms. Polk,
Aye.
Ms. Peters,
Aye.
Ms. Haas,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Dennell,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler,
Aye.
motion carries.
Don't forget.
Mr. Snipes,
He was late. He was late. Are we painting this that lovely yellow?
I don't know that that's in our plan or not. I mean, it's an option.
Okay. Big Bird, they'll have to get a name for it.
All right.
Okay.
Next on there is building repairs at the highway department. At our Water Street building, which used to be an auto parts store, you can see that we, some years ago, you can tell by the door on the left, the large door, we installed that door. There used to be windows all the way across.
Right.
That was because we're using it for storage. The glass and the front door there are shifting, and it's very difficult. We cannot use that door anymore. So I would like to install another large door there and take all that glass out and just install another large door there, because it's hard for us to pull in there because we have our paint booth is just inside that large door. We have to maneuver around that to get storage to the back of the building. And I'd like to hire an architect to do that for us, to design that and let it here.
Questions?
Same height, would it be, the door would be
Yes.
the width of the glass now?
No, it would be the same size door that we have there.
Okay, so you'll have, are you gonna have a small door to the side of the new
No,
door?
we have an entrance on the alley.
In the alley, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Make a motion to, get bids, and we can see the price and come back.
Second. Been motioned and seconded that we get bids for the changing or converting of the front window and door to a large door.
Is it?
All in favor, say
Question. Question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a motion to give bids. Is the architectural part of the budget, or where does that
use the
come in?
microphone.
Oh, there's a motion to get bids on the floor, but don't we have to proceed with some type of architectural design, or? how does
Yes,
this work?
I would like to contact an architect and get that designed. I mean, I think those services will be under 20,000, and professional services aren't bound by a dollar amount, but it should be under
So that wouldn't
20,000.
have to be part of the motion that's on the floor.
Well, if you would like it to be, yes.
I don't know if it's necessary.
Yeah. Because there's another issue I have too that will have to involve an architect also.
Phones?
Thank you, Chairman. Mark, and looking at this picture, was there a beam put across that big door?
Yes, there was.
An I-beam?
I'm getting a nod from the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, it doesn't look like the brick is going out far enough out over there for a beam to be installed on the top of that.
Well, the bricks were removed to build it, and then we had to get as close a matched brick that we could, I think, is what you're looking at there.
Well, yeah, but I was looking at the width of the door. It doesn't look like the I-beam, I would think, would have been at least a couple of foot on each side of the doorway.
I think what he's saying is that the bricks were removed and then they replaced bricks look identical, so it's not, it may not look like it's.
There was I'm getting an indication from the back that there was a new frame put on sides and top.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering if that's why the other side was starting to sag, because there was no beam or anything put in there for support.
No, I think there's a beam across the top of those windows too. I think I looked at
Okay.
that the other day when I went
Alright.
over there and looked at it closer, yeah.
Foundation.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Would, is it okay that we make the next motion, you need architectural services for something else, we just handle that with the next one?
Okay.
Put the two together, is that okay?
Okay.
Right.
All right, cause then we,
And
spending
we
money.
need to do,
Yeah.
roll call?
Yeah.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Ms. Polk. Aye. Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Ms. Peters. Aye. Ms. Haas. Aye. Mr. Carrico. Aye. Mr. Eckhoff. Aye. Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Dennell.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last thing I have in improvements is the roofs. There are several roofs at the county highway department that need to be inspected and probably repaired. The north side there is the river. The office roof is not too bad right now, but the garage adjacent to the east there, we have some issues. There's some holes in the metal, And so we need to look at having that repaired. And also there's an overhang. We need to construct an overhang over that garage building towards the river, because the water is basically running down the side of the building. And then on the large building there, the garage, we need to look at that metal roof and other parts of that roof to get those repaired also. There's some holes that we've tried to repair ourselves, but they're getting beyond our control.
Any questions?
Motion.
We need a motion. You have a question?
Well, I just wanted, this is a motion to get an architect to look at the roof along with
Yes.
the other project.
Yes.
the other building. Okay, whoever wants to make the motion.
Does that have to be the same architect?
Mr. Smith makes a motion. Mr. Featherling, second. Roll call vote.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Ms. Polk, Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Ms. Peters, Ms. Haas, Mr. Carrico, Mr. Eckhoff, Mr. Featherling, Mr. Smith, Mr. Dennell, Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
All right, so back to number 4. I don't have any bidding or letting this morning, but I do have pay estimates. The first one is for our county general maintenance for 2019, payable to Gallagher Asphalt Corporation. This is for hot mix asphalt picked up at the plant with our trucks, and that amount is $1,148.16. Next is our county general maintenance for 2019, supplement 2. This is payable to Grasso Construction. This is for oil and ship work that's been done in the county, and that amount is $101,903.79. Next is our county general maintenance for 2019, payable to Kankakee Valley Construction Company. This is for hot mix asphalt picked up at the plant with our trucks, and that amount is $1,173.25. Next is for our county general maintenance for 2019, payable to Vulcan Materials. This is for road mix and CA16 chips picked up at the quarry with our trucks. And that amount is $11,307.04. Next is a Roman Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a final pay estimate to AC Pavement Striping for oil and chip work that was done in the township, and that amount is $10,516.13. Next is Junior Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a final pay estimate to AC Pavement Striping for oil and chip work done in the township. That amount is $4,121.51. Next is Pembroke Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a final pay estimate to AC Pavement Striping for oil and chip work done in the township, and that amount is $18,939.58. Next is Rockville Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a final pay estimate to AC Pavement Striping for oil and chip work done in the township, and that amount is $3,815.44. Next is St. Anne Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a final pay estimate to AC Pavement Striping, and that amount is $7,774.16. Next is Pilot Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is a pay estimate to Grasso Construction Company for oil and chip work done in the township, and that amount is $100,517.54. Next is Kankakee Road District for section 17-05122-00-SS. This is payable to MG2A for engineering services, and that amount is $8,670.00. Next is Rockville Road District for their 2019 general maintenance. This is payable to Prairie Material Sales. This is for road mix picked up at the quarry with their trucks, and that amount is $911.40. Next is Auto Road District for their 2019 general maintenance, supplement 2. This is payable to Vulcan Materials for road mix picked up at the quarry with their trucks, and that amount is $66.64. Next is for our county general maintenance, section 19-00000-01-GM non-MFT. This is payable to Gallagher Asphalt Corporation. This is for the road work and overlays on County Highway 8, which is St. George Road. And that amount is $393,386.90. Next is Junior Road District for section 18-04-128-00-BR. This is payable to Engineering Resource Associates. This is for some structural design, and that amount is $5,500.00. Oh, I'm sorry.
10,500. Skip.
I have two stuck together. All right. So that one that I just read was for your last one. That was for the Township Road. And the one that was stuck together is for our county bridge 18-00305-00-BR non-MFT. This is payable to Engineering Resource Associates for some structural design, and that amount is $10,500. That's resolution, so need a motion to approve the pay estimates.
I have a motion to approve the pay estimates. Mr. Eckhoff and Mr. Snipes. Roll call vote.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Ms. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Ms. Peters,
Aye.
Ms. Haas, Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Dennell,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under resolutions, I have one resolution for the committee. Every year, the county board has to pass a resolution for authorization to spend motor fuel tax. So I combine everything into one resolution. And this resolution is for $3,113,288 for all MFT maintenance between January 1st of 2020 to 12/31/2020. If there's any questions, I'd entertain any questions and a motion to approve.
Mr. Snipes.
Just want to know with this estimate that you have here at $3,113,280, does that include the increase of it, or just are you reserving?
I did a conservative estimate of how much extra MFT is going to be available. Of course, if I'm wrong, I will be back here to have a supplemental resolution.
Oh, this one.
Bones.
Make a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve, second by Mr. Snipes.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Ms. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Ms. Peters,
Aye.
Ms. Haas, Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Dennell,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
I just have a couple of other just side comments. It was brought to my attention this morning that there was a young child killed in another county in the state in an agricultural accident on a highway. It is harvest time, so I would encourage everyone to be careful, and because the tractors don't go as fast as a truck, and it is the season. And speaking of seasons, winter's coming up upon us. I did get our salt price for the year yesterday, and it is $84.93 a ton. Last year we paid $48.91 a ton. So it went up about 75%, but this is one of the only contracts I know in the state where we have to commit to something in March when we don't know the price, and we have to buy it. So that's our price for the year. So
Mr. Snipes.
Do we have any left over from last year that could supplement?
we have about 1,500 tons in the building down there on Southeast Avenue. Each spring I get with Rick about how much is in there, and we kind of banter about how much we think we're going to need. It, you know, it's March. I mean, we don't know anything about the weather for the following year. We try to consider the worst case scenario. So we're hoping that's enough. We have to purchase 80% of what we order, and they'll only guarantee us 120% of that order. So there is some wiggle room in there, but that 80% is still going to cost us about $201,000 just to buy our minimum amount of salt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Coming back to your percentages, how much of last year's order did you use? Did you go over your 80%? Because it was a rough year with salt. I know there were some people that ran out of salt.
I think, Rick, did we go to the maximum? We did the 100%, 120% to fill our building last year.
Yeah, I know that people were begging for salt, and I'm thinking that's why the price of salt
and the salt price, we were fortunate last year because last year when we do these bids, when you do the first year of your bid, you have the option to renew the following year. Well, 2 years, the winter before last was a bad winter, not so much here in the Midwest, but down in the South, they had all those ice storms, and out west, they had all those snowstorms and stuff that put a crunch on the salt supply. And we had renewed, luckily, because the prices went up to in the 90s last year, but we got it for $48.91. So I knew it was going to go up. I was hoping it was going to drift back down into maybe the 60s, but it's $84.93.
Well, hopefully you don't have to use 120% this year.
I'm hoping not, but.
Mr. Featherly.
Does anybody justify the increase? Do you say, hey, it's because of supply, or hey, it's because is there a liability issue with it, or?
We go on the state's purchase through bid buy. We have to give the state our quantity. They do the letting for us.
Okay. Like the cars or trucks you guys buy?
Yes, exact same process, yes. So they're bidding out, for instance, in Kankakee County, when I went on and looked, I mean, the city Kankakee is on there. We have 7 townships that are on the list, you know, several villages. I can't remember. I don't think KCC's on there anymore, but, you know, anybody that's a nonprofit can go on and do this bid buy.
Wow. Okay, so whatever you carry over then basically is profit from last year then? Because you're only paid $60 or $40 or something instead of $80?
Yeah, yes. We decided to fill the building because we knew we couldn't renew.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Snipes.
Just before you go, I know the last committee, I kind of made an inquiry about that bridge. Is there an update?
I have not heard back from my state contact yet because I don't know if the railroad has the structure or if the city has the structure. So I contacted my state inventory person. I haven't heard back from them. So I will get that answer for you.
All right, thanks.
Any further questions? Bones.
Thank you, Chairman. Mark, I just want to thank you for the work that you did for Cemetery Road Moments and Route 17, the quick action that you did on that with the township. So thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, that's it for me. Oh.
Did you want to tell the committee about State Line Bridge?
Sure. The State Line Bridge, there is a large debris pile there. The new committee, the basin, I can't remember the exact name of the committee. Mr. Chairman, you'd help me with that.
It's Kankakee and Yellow River Basin Commission.
Okay. They met out there to get that, try to remove that pile, and they had a bid letting, and a contractor has been, I think, awarded that to get the debris pile out from underneath that bridge. But there hasn't been, I don't know that there's been anything about replacing, or not replacing, but doing the the upgrades to the bridge so that it could be usable.
No, if I could, Mr. Chairman, 13. Right now, the decision is to force us to redo the bridge per a previous agreement that the previous chairman signed that was tied to another bridge project. They would do one and then they had to do this one. The bid came in at $7 million for something we thought was going to cost $2 million. And it's us, Newton County, and Lake County, Indiana are the three people that are part of it. So they put it back out to bid again, I believe. They were going to put it back out. And they're also asking for relief from the federal highway folks and the state historic preservation people, because even though it's not a historic bridge, it could be. So they have to treat it the same way. So if it is restored, this is the odd part, and it's frustrating. If they restore it back to what it was, you still couldn't drive today's vehicles across it.
It's too narrow.
And they didn't. The guardrails are like the 3 guardrails. I mean, everything about it is not. You can't use it as a bridge, and there's only like 3 or 4 houses out there now. They haven't used it in 18 years. It gets stuff stuck under it, so it acts like a dam out there with sand and everything. It's a real problem, and it's flooded for at least 6 months out of the year. So there is an indication that the federal government might be allowing us to be sensible about this situation, but they haven't ruled yet. So the other side of that is Indiana's paying for this logjam removal, the River Basin Commission, which I was appointed to, but also they're going to come into the Illinois side and locate and then start removing the Indiana logs that have created log jams on our side of the state line, which is a big step. So I know it's tangentially highway related and bridges, but it's really a combination of a lot of different things and disciplines. I just thought the committee would want to know. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with that $7.1 million, does that fix like the north and south side of the roads, or
No,
that's just the bridge?
No approaches at all. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they can't get equipment in there, I believe is the reason why. They can't get anything in there to do this.
Narrow road, very narrow. Not well maintained.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Andrews. What?
Good day.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Facility dude report for the month of September had 154 work orders in the system, and actually 154 put in and 154 completed. So we continue to be very busy. Financial report, we'll move on to that. You've got 2 reports there in front of you. One is the year-to-date numbers. We'll call out a couple things on it. You can see our budget for this year was $792,434. We're currently sitting at $668,488 compared to the same time last year of $691,931. A couple things to call out. You'll see under the custodian line item 50250. Total budget for this year was $116,251, and you can see we're only at 63. That's because there was some discussion last year about me potentially adding someone to my staff early this year, and obviously that hasn't happened. So it was budgeted for, and that's why that number is considerably higher than that's why it's higher compared to what we've spent so far this year. So that's one thing to call out. Everything else is pretty much standard. Under miscellaneous services, 56,400. You'll see we budgeted 34,000. I said it at the time last year. It's never enough. I mean, that's service repairs by outside contractors. When things break, my staff tackles the project. When they're not able to fix it, or they hit a dead end, we make a phone call. So you can see what we spent last year comparatively to where we're at this year. Similar. So that's really all I got. Are there any questions on the year-to-date numbers? Okay, if not, Moving on to our monthly expenses that you have there in front of you, you can see the line item totals 21,854. We'll call out, I'll discuss about $10,000 worth of those expenses. We had several repairs to equipment, and most of them were from July. The vendors that we used, they're slow in invoicing, so a lot of these expenses that are coming through now that we're discussing were from July of this year. So chiller repair at the old jail, freezer repair at Jerome Combs, annex chiller, the truck that we recently purchased is on there for $37.61. We had Heritage FS out to do our fuel for our generators. That was $836. So that roughly right there is $10,203 of the 21,000. So by looking at that, if there's any other questions on any of those line items, I can try to dig them up here and let you know what they are.
The question is, have you asked them about the slow billing, or is it to our advantage that it's slow billing?
I never tell vendors to invoice us more quickly, you know, so it's, when I get it, I process it, and, you know, it is what it is, so.
Okay.
We should have anything in the SA 13, please, I'm sorry.
13.
The SAO line. The SAO line, there shouldn't be anything more on that. We're under no obligations. You can probably remove that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? Mr. Snipes.
Did we apply, I guess that would be to the chairman, did we apply and get, or we just applied for that grant for the courthouse on yesterday that we approved?
Did we apply for it?
No, I'm talking about the, I guess that would be the chairman here, Wheeler. Yeah.
We received the grant. That was Representative Parker scouted from the DCO for us. We had to fill out all the paperwork ad nauseum. Wes was jumping through hoops for about 3 months, maybe. I mean, it seemed like forever. But we have to spend it and then get it back.
Oh, okay.
So that's the total amount that we would get back. So, and we probably, there's some of it we could start on pretty soon, just depending on when the weather flies. But I would imagine most of it will be in the spring.
Any other questions?
All right, moving on to building report here at 189. As you can see, the sidewalk out front is done, looks good. I did have some issues with the concrete on the building. If you take a walk around the building, there is some concrete on the building. I'd ask that that get added to a punch list to get that cleaned up and off of our building. Smoke-free Illinois signage is going to be going up here within the next few days. If it's not up already, I got to go down and see if they got to it yet this morning. That's going to be going up at all of our entrances here at this building and others. The smoking area is going to be put together probably later today as well. That's going to be out in the old Treasurer's parking lot. So once all that comes together, I plan to get with the chairman for final steps on implementing the procedures for our smoking areas. I did purchase a new brush setup for our John Deere tractor. That's how we clear the sidewalks here, the courthouse, the old jail. The one that we had was an old unit. I believe it was about 10 years old. And every winter, the beating that those things take, it was going to cost $1,500 to repair the one that we had. So I was able to secure a new one for $2,300. Really was an expense that if we want our sidewalks cleared, it was something that we had to have. So typically with expenses, how I've, if it's an elective type thing, I like to bring it to the committee first, but with this particular instance, an $800 increase over repair, I thought was money well spent. So I met with Dr. Murphy out at schools. We're going to be taking over plowing out at the schools facility this year. So we've got a plan together. I still have to meet with my staff to figure out logistically how we make all that work. It'll be a little more taxing on us, especially with we're taking on more work with the same amount of people. So we'll do our best to get that worked out. Had a lighting inspection done this week, both here and at Jerome Combs. Went through the building. Counted all the lights in the building. I think I touched on this last meeting. We do qualify for the ComEd grant money. So I'm working through that right now with both ComEd and a lighting vendor. So we'll see where that goes. Moving on to the courthouse. The compressor, we've got an issue on the east side of the building up on the roof with a compressor. It's I believe it's a 2 or 3 year old unit. I haven't been able to find much information on it yet. It went out. There's 2 compressors on that chiller. We're running on one right now. I had a contractor come out and look at it. They said it's shot. And I said, well, how does a 2 or 3 year old compressor shot? He said, well, I'll tell you this. He said, you're not the only building in downtown Kankakee with rooftop HVAC issues. He said the lightning storm from September 27th, I think the day was, into September. There's several buildings in the downtown area that are having issues with mechanical failures. So I'm waiting on some numbers on that. We'll see what it looks like for repair, replacement. We'll offset that with, any deductible that we may have, but we'll see where that goes.
So he's saying that the electrical or the lightning did strike it?
He said it's hard to prove that. He said, but there are other buildings with similar issues in the downtown area.
Maybe not direct strikes, but
right
in the vicinity of it.
Right.
It's scary.
So I'm working through that right now, both with our contractor, and I'll work through that with our insurance company as well. We'll figure out what the best course of action is on that and move forward. October 20th, I've got ComEd scheduled for a transformer replacement at the courthouse. Right now, there's an old transformer that sits on the south side of the building. It's been leaking for quite some time. We had this originally scheduled a couple months ago. Problem was they come in and they shut us down at the courthouse to make the swap out. And this is all on ComEd's dime, by the way. They found out that the annex, the courthouse, and the old jail are all wired together. So if you shut down the courthouse, you lose the annex in the old jail. So we had to postpone it. I've had to get with corrections. We're going to do it October 20th. We're going to run the generators during that time. They're also going to install a newer breaker so we don't have this issue anymore. So
on a Sunday.
Right. Same thing with the smokers area there. That's been installed on the south side lawn, right by the bench. So that is there and done. I sent off the signed agreement to the DCEO yesterday, so they have that now. It's in their possession. I asked them to let us know what the next steps are on that. I'm learning as I go along with regard to this process. Annex, nothing new to report there. Old jail, same issues, different month. So we had a sewer backup in one of the dorms due to plasticware in the system. I'm going to make an executive decision, and I'm going to have us put on about a 4 to 5 month service plan with a local vendor to clear the line for us, because it's something that happens without fail every few months. And when it happens, I got to call somebody in, so we incur overtime and calling people in after hours. So as far as a preventative maintenance type measure, I think it's smart to do. So that's something that I'll pursue there. We've had more issues with showers, faucets, mixing valves, hot water, just replacing some of the old components every month. It's just, I know I sound like a broken record, but that's the reality of it. Still to do windows. I haven't had a chance to get to that yet, and power wash. Those were on my list from last month's meeting, and quite frankly, I've been swamped with everything I've discussed thus far, and I haven't got to it yet. So, JCDC, public safety, we're busy there too. Met with the same LED light vendor last week. We went through the entire facility, counted every light in the place. The lightning strike that we discussed here on 9/27, we did take a strike out at Jerome Combs that day. I was sitting at lunch, got the call, took off, went out there. Fire department was there, and we have had some issues since then. The camera system at the jail is not working properly. It's an old unit from 2004. Working with the insurance company right now on replacement numbers for that unit. Also the swipe system, we've got it band-aided right now. So when you go in out there, you swipe your ID, lets you in the door. That unit is not working correctly either after the lightning strike. So we're working on that as well to get some numbers. Now we have both those systems operating right now. They're just not operating well. They're band-aided for the time being. Cooling system maintenance on our generators. I've been asked questions at this committee about, what do we do on preventative maintenance? What types of things do you do? Well, we do preventative maintenance on our generators. I have a contract with a company. They come in twice a year. They go through our generators. They recommend that we do cooling system maintenance. We haven't done that in every 5 years. It's recommended. They've been our contractor, I think, for longer than that. That was something the previous director had signed, and I have no documentation as to when we ever did any cooling system maintenance on any of our generators. And they're telling me that it's time. So that their quote came to $8,500 to go through all of our generators, replace caps, replace hoses, go through the entire cooling systems of all of our generators. That's something that from my budget, obviously I have money left over in the budget. That's something that I would like to do. Those are critical systems, especially at all buildings, but some buildings probably more important than others. So I just wanted to get kind of the committee's take on that. It's a preventative maintenance type thing. Is it absolutely necessary? Probably not. Do we want to do it? What's the committee's thoughts on that?
I have a question about, is that passe now that you don't have lightning rods on the buildings to conduct the lightning to the ground? Or
we have them
anything like that?
We have them at Jerome Combs, yeah.
We have them at Jerome Combs, we don't have them anywhere else.
Question.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Schedule preventative maintenance eliminates breakdowns and not being reliable. If everybody's in a meeting and there's 50 people in the building and the power was out and the generator goes, bleh, then you got a problem. It's like your car. If you take care of the radiator, take care of change the oil, take care of everything, it's always there when you need it.
Right.
So I really think we need to take care of it.
Mr. Snipes.
I echo those sentiments. I guess you just since you already kind of have it within your budget, you're just looking for a nod. It's not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some sort of feedback, because it's not a necessary expense, or it's not a necessity, I should say. It is necessary, but it's not something that if we don't do it, we may not suffer any effects tomorrow, but down the road we may.
So preventative.
Right.
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Yeah. Anything else on that? Just a couple more things. Boards for rooftop units out there. We touched on this a little bit too. This is something that's going to have to happen in this next year. The way that the boards on the air handlers communicate with the system. Earlier this year, we talked about the upgrading of those boards, and the boards, the old boards don't communicate well with the new computer system. So every time the new computer system goes through an update of any kind, the old boards, they don't work well together. So that's something that in this next year, that's something I'm gonna have to, I believe it was about $500 a pop, and we talked about like 40 some air handlers. Remember, we talked about that. So that's something that this next year we're gonna have to look into that and come up with a solution there. And then the last thing I have is I need a new mechanic. I need another mechanic at Jerome Combs. I know we talked about a custodian last year and the potential of possibly hiring a custodian, a second shift custodian. I don't need a custodian. I need somebody that can work with a wrench and can use some tools, because the gentleman that I have out there right now is worked to the bone. I mean, he says he can keep doing it. I've been around longer. I know he can't. He can't do it. You can't keep up with that. So that's something that this soon we need to do something about
he
that.
can do it, but his work production would diminish.
Right. He gets called in after hours 3 to 4 days a week. So,
Mr. Snipes.
That's a question. In your custodian account, they said they budgeted you, I guess, this additional $52,536.72. And you were gonna get someone, so why not just, I mean, it's already in your budget, so.
Well, maybe it's just my inexperience with this position or not knowing what I'm able to do, but I like to, and I know it was discussed, but for one reason or another, I don't know that we ever said, okay, let's do it. Andy, is that how you recall it?
Well, thank you. We had talked about it and to relieve some of the pressure mainly out of Jerome Combs. And it seems like the pressure is coming from the mechanic space and not the custodial space.
Right.
And so I would say it's a budgetary number that needs to be included in next year's budget. That's
Right.
the way I think we should handle it.
Yeah.
And then make the financial, if we see the need, and which I think we already agreed a long time ago we do, especially for that person's life and happiness away from work. Then why don't we include that in next year's
Yeah,
budget?
I'll reduce what I did. The custodian number, I'll drop that down. I'll figure the mechanic for the next calendar year, but that's something that'll be a priority of mine and should be a priority of all of ours that we get somebody in here just to, to learn the building, to be able to go through the building, to, to assist on an on-call basis, even if it's a every other week rotating type deal. It's something that I envision for next year.
Can you get that to Steve like ASAP, because the budget is like 2 weeks from now we're doing it.
I'm almost done with it, so
Okay.
I'll get it to him later today or tomorrow.
Is
Bones.
the 52,000 that's up in the budget is just, it's already been budgeted, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the price of the mechanical individual? Would it exceed that amount?
Yeah, the custodian is it's going to be more. It's going to be.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a finance.
Yeah, it's I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's going to be more.
Okay, because I
But
thought
if
just
you-
in there it would be a shifting of the budget, of your current budget, where you would have that thing, but if it's over that, then it's
Yeah,
gonna,
But
would have to go through the finance.
but if he's needs the person right away,
It can utilize.
he has enough in his budget to hire that person and then include it in next year's budget.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
So are we in agreement then of
I have a
pursuing this?
question.
And
I have a question.
go ahead, Bones.
Thank you, Chairman. That was my comment. If it's in your budget and you can fill that position shortly before the end of the budget, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
right.
But would you overlap? You're gonna have one afternoon, one evening, or?
No, I mean possibly eventually get to that point, but there's
just-
so much building knowledge that they would have to gain before they would be able to work by themselves.
And that's what I was thinking of, an overlapping, what word do I want to use? Scheduling of them, where he would come in maybe an hour before the other guy leaves.
Yeah.
That way he says, all right, this is what I'm into.
Yeah,
You know,
eventually
this
I
needs
could
to
see
be-
maybe even a 4 or 5 hour stagger, eventually. But
Okay.
for maybe a year, it's going to take somebody just to learn how to get around the place. And,
Yeah.
So the sooner the better.
yeah.
Thank you.
We need a vote on that, or it's within the budget, so we don't need a vote.
That's all I got.
Do it. Go ahead.
I want to compliment our grounds crew. My wife and I were at an event the other day on Tuesday at the courthouse, and I'd like to remark about how well everything looks and how well maintained and groomed the grounds look there. It looked very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Any old business besides me? Any new business? Other business that was been taken care of? Motion to adjourn. Bones, Mrs. Peters.
All in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.